happy October. Can you believe it? Here we are. Yes. All right. So, Carl Sagan wrote, "Dreams are maps." Dreams are maps. Now, I would like for you in this moment to think of a dream that you had that came true. Anything that you have dreamt in your life that came true. It could be, maybe it was a job or a partner or kids or a creative expression of some sort. Maybe it was living in a certain place or letting go or releasing a destructive habit or a toxic person or achieving a certain level of financial freedom. You know, whatever that dream was for you that came to fruition in your life, I invite you to just bring that into your awareness. We all have them. We all have them. And now, consider again Carl Sagan's wisdom. Dreams are maps. I'm not talking about the kind of dreams like, I want to be a rock star or win the lottery. Of course, if you have, that's fantastic. I'm talking about the dreams of our soul today. Because the dreams that are directly connected to our soul come from our soul. Those are the dreams that bring the experience of more life, more God, more divinity, more love, whatever word works for you, into our lives. So for a moment, again, consider, if you will, the dream that you had that is now realized. And I invite you to picture what your life was like before that dream was realized. How different were you as a person? How different were your circumstances and your experiences? Notice for a moment the growth that you had as a result of experiencing that dream or dreams. We gather here in spiritual community, either in person or online, every Sunday, or for those of you who may tune in during the week, depending on what works for you, we gather together because we know on a soul level that spiritual growth is healing, not only for us, but it's healing for our families, it's healing for our communities, it's healing for our world. And when we have dreams made manifest on the soul level, it's a revealing of healing for all. It ripples out and impacts everyone. These dreams of our soul reveal themselves in us in order for one thing to happen. One thing, when you whittle it all down and you peel back the layers, the one thing that those dreams of ours, and it's different for everyone, the one thing, when you whittle it down to that map, so to speak, it always leads us to experiencing more love or God or Spirit. There is a Jewish proverb that I love. It says, "Pay attention to your dreams, for they are your letters from God." Pay attention to your dreams, for they are your letters from God. I think of them as love letters from the divine. We have dreams for ourselves, our loved ones, our community, our country, our world. And those love letters from God or Spirit are important because they speak of freedom. Those dreams bring liberation and a deeper, profound sense of joy, all of which, my friends, are our birthright. We forget that. It's her birthright. So let me ask you, what are your dreams now? What are your dreams right now? What are those love letters for you now? I invite you to pay attention to them, my loves, to listen to what is underneath them. And then, as we teach here, we pray and we move our feet. I invite you to do a little something in the name of the revealing of healing for everyone. Do a little something that moves you towards your dream. Because your dream, remember, is the love letter from the divine. It's not selfish, as so many of us were taught in many religious traditions growing up. It's divinity's love letter to us. I invite you to do something every day that moves you towards your dream this week. Are you up for it? Are you up for it? There we go. There we go. There we go. And this could be an action. This could be an affirmation. This could be journaling. This could be praying about it. You know, just think, what can you do today? When you leave here, what can you do today to open up that particular love letter that is on your heart, that is just waiting to be opened? And this process is not meant to be rushed or added. I don't want you to add it to another thing on your to-do list. This is a spiritual practice, right? What can you do? What can you do to open that letter even more? As some of you know, I have a background in peace building and social justice and conflict transformation. And when I was in graduate school learning about the world peace ethic, like so many of my fellow community organizers, I was profoundly drawn to the work that goes on at the UN in The Hague, which is located in the Netherlands. The Hague, by the way, was the host to the very first World Peace Conference in 1899. And it's known across the world as the city of peace and justice. I think that if I hadn't received the calling, and it certainly is a calling to be a minister, I would have ended up doing something with the UN, something in that area of peace building in the world. So I had my own quiet and persistent dream for a very long time to travel to the Netherlands and to understand how that country became the modern model for pluralism. Now, pluralism is defined as a condition or system in which two or more states, groups, principles, or sources of authority can easily coexist. Can you imagine? Yes, I have been deeply curious for a very long time about how in the world the beautiful Dutch people were able to achieve this. You know, the live and let live ethos in Amsterdam and throughout the Netherlands that the Dutch people so readily embrace there. And this curiosity within me has been piqued as of late, especially now. Especially due to the current rise of authoritarianism that is happening around the world. Here, most recently in Italy, with the election that just happened there this week. They put in place a leader who has openly praised Mussolini. The election that's happening today in Brazil, we will find out if that authoritarian leader stays in power or not. You know, with all of this happening in the world, and of course, the monumental need to protect our own democracy here in the United States, the idea of traveling to the Netherlands, seeking to understand that particular energy field and belief structure had brought for me this quiet yet very persistent dream. And I wanted to open that letter. I also wanted to go to the sacred and the holy places there, or the thin places, as they say in Ireland, that contain all of that collective wisdom from across time. I wanted to lean into that. This dream of mine, this particular love letter from the divine, was deeply connected for me to my ministry, my spirituality, and my commitment to peace building and social justice. And I knew deep down that traveling to that part of the world would inspire me. I had no idea the level of inspiration. I had no idea. My friends, my offering on Sunday mornings is only 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to spread it across a couple of talks because there was so much that I received there. I just got back the other day. I'm still adjusting to the time difference. I actually forgot that I was supposed to go get paper for my printer. So this morning at like 9 o'clock when I was printing up, I had to text Mary and say, can you please bring me some paper? I have no paper. And I'm still in my jammies. So, thank you, Mary. But what a dream realized that was for me, to be able to have that experience. I was at the actual Peace Palace in The Hague on International Peace Day. The Peace Palace. The Peace Palace was the very first model for the establishment of the peace movement in the modern era. The man, Andrew Dixon White, who conceived of the Peace Palace over 100 years ago, said that it would be a temple of peace where the doors are open, a kind of holy place, a worthy testimony that has thrown open its doors for the peace and settlement of differences between peoples. As I stood there on International Peace Day in front of this beacon of peace, I stood there in absolute awe. And I will be speaking, by the way, about the spiritual practice of awe and wonder in my next talk. But I stood there, just trying to keep my jaw from staying open. And it came to me that the Peace Palace really is, as Hemingway said, a movable feast. That I can travel home, halfway back across the world, and hold in my heart this temple and beacon of the promise of peace and all that it stands for and has stood for over 100 years. That I can bring that here. Because as we teach here, there is no separation. In my mind, this dream, this love letter that I was unpacking, that I wanted to understand, somehow in my mind, I thought, well, if I'm there, something magical will happen. Lots of magical things happened. But what I didn't realize until the flight home was, oh my word, I get to carry all of this with me. I get to carry all of my experiences with me, share them with you and my family and my friends. Every time any one of us has an experience of peace, from the tiniest glance, kind glance from a stranger, to big, huge things, we can carry that movable feast with us into our neighborhoods, into our grocery store, into our community. In front of the Peace Palace, right outside of it, there was a tree that had many, many strands of paper all over it. And on those strands of paper were handwritten messages and prayers for peace. It is secularly named the wishing tree. And if you look at that picture, what I can tell you is that on every strand of paper is a prayer for peace. And they're in multiple languages. I was looking at it for a very long time. I had no idea what I was reading. But it was the movable feast that I was being given in that moment. Do you see? It didn't even matter that I couldn't read it. I felt it. I felt it profoundly. People from all over the world have handwritten their own prayers and affirmations all over it. And in the spirit of this idea of a movable feast, that we carry this peace with us and we are meant to share it, that there is no separation, as Shelley spoke so beautifully about in her opening blessing, that there is no separation on the seen and unseen sides of life. Let's just do something together for a moment. I invite you to take a deep breath and close your eyes. And those of you online, just take a deep breath. Wherever you are, just close your eyes for just a moment and allow your personal prayer for peace to surface. Whatever that is for you. This may be something in your personal life or in the world or both, but let's just take a moment together, allowing ourselves to lean into that prayer. Just allow this prayer for peace to be fully felt, knowing that this energetic level of peace that we are experiencing right now together ripples out and is felt in all the places that are calling for it. And now I invite you to envision yourself writing this prayer on a piece of white paper and affixing it to the tree of life that we are all a part of. Allow yourself to see that action. Allow this to be fully felt. And now taking a nice deep breath, returning to the room, revitalized. Peace is the activity and the action of love, isn't it? And we can do that action anywhere, at any time. At any time. You know, so many things came to me during my spiritual retreat in the Netherlands and Belgium. So many things, so many observations. And what I gained clarity around is the power also of retreat. Of retreat. The original meaning of the word retreat is to take a step back, to withdraw, to call back, or to fall back from battle. I don't know about you, but anytime I can take a step back from battle, I'm there. I was reminded on this trip how, listen, in my professional life, Sunday is always 7 days away. Always. In this particular work that I have been called to, it is naturally a forward trajectory all the time. All the time. And I am so grateful to get to do that. And what my time away on retreat brought to me was the value and the importance of doing something that feels often antithetical and taking a step back, maybe two. You know? I'm so committed to this. We're going to be offering 2 retreats per year in our community. We have our fall retreat coming up at the end of this month, and in the spring I'll be offering my 2nd annual meditation retreat. I'm so committed to that. For all of us, not only for me personally, but for all of us to have the opportunity to take a step back. In our Western society, that can be seen as a negative thing, yes? A lack of forward movement, But I'd like to highlight for us today the power of the pause. The power of the pause, the importance of unplugging, and in doing so, the unexpected ability to receive insights that we miss when we are continually marching forward, when we can stop and when we can just reflect and really think about our history, where we have been, where we are going, where we are headed, becomes much more clear. Do you see? Taking a step back into our history, my friends, is deeply important. And on this topic, by the way, I just want to add in a quick shout out, a deep bow to my community organizer friends working in the states that are trying to whitewash and rewrite our own history in an effort to make it more palatable for uncomfortable white people. History is important on the collective and in the personal. when we can take a moment, it doesn't mean we wallow in it, but when we can take a moment and step back, allowing ourselves to reflect on our own history, it assures that we do not repeat the bad stuff. Yes. Yeah. Taking a step back, pausing, considering what has been is profoundly valuable in our personal lives and in the human collective, because it gives us the spaciousness, it gives us the breath that we can then unpack our love letters and our dreams. And in doing this, we create our own map of exactly how divinity is guiding us forward. Do you see? Pausing, taking that gentle step back to assess or to reassess our own life is especially helpful when we are in the process of looking at and understanding how to make our own way forward. This reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Anne Lamott. Anne Lamott wrote, just one day shy of her 61st birthday, she wrote, "Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you." Yeah. So let me ask you, where can you unplug? Where can you pause and just take a gentle step back to regroup, to listen, to remember, to gain clarity? Tune in for a moment. Are you rushing in your life right now? Are you rushing personally, interpersonally, professionally? Is there some vague sense of Americanized urgency? Anyone? Do you know what I'm saying? It's so American. It was really astounding to be in a country where people sit at a restaurant for a long time. Nobody's shoveling it in, you know? Where there are leisurely walks for a long time, not just striving to get the steps in. It's a whole different thing, you know? And I've traveled in many countries all over the world, and I will say, every time I come home, I scratch my head and go, we could learn a little bit on many things, on many levels, you know? Where can you unplug? Where can you take a breath? And can you acknowledge that vague Western urgency for the next thing? Whatever the next thing is, even if it's going to the grocery store or doing your laundry or whatever it is, I'm inviting you this week to just simply notice that and soften those edges. Because as you soften those edges, you bring more peace into your life. And as you bring more peace into your life, you become more free. You become more liberated. You experience more joy, which, again, is our birthright. And, you do not have to travel halfway across the world to do this. I mean, if you have a dream to do it, go for it. But it isn't a requirement. You can retreat, you can pause, you can take a step back from the battles and bask in the sunshine of divine love anytime. Take a deep breath with me right now. You see, it's not complicated. We make it complicated. It's not complicated. It was never meant to be complicated. There is nothing complicated in God. And because we understand that we are divine manifestations of spirit, when we are overcomplicating things, we are separating ourselves from the truth, from our integrity that lives at the center of our being. So this week, beloveds, I invite you to remember that your dreams are love letters from God, from the divine. They are an inner map for you, leading the way to greater freedom and joy. And practice just one thing, one little thing every day in support of that dream to open that love letter. Are you willing? Yeah. There is so much happening right now in our own country, in Florida, in Puerto Rico, in the LGBTQIA communities, for women here and in Iran, bless them. For those that are moving through health issues, so many things. Let us together participate in the movable feast of active peace, yes? Each day, I'm going to invite you this week to just pause, even on the breath like we just did. Just pause for a moment and pray for peace. Pray for peace. You can do this in your car on the way to work. You can do this while you're unpacking groceries. You can do this on the breath. Let us together commit to placing our prayers on the tree of life. That is how we will bring peace into this world, you see? And finally, this week, I invite you to really look at your life and where you can unplug, where you can pause, where you can gently retreat, so that you can slow down enough to really hear and see and feel into where you are being led next. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this message supported you. We are a nonprofit, and we do all of this based solely on the gifts that you give. No amount is too small or too large. You can text to give. You can go online and check out our website. We're doing so much. You can give that way. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this community, and for supporting this message of bringing more light, more love, and spirit-led social action out into the world. Thank you. You're loved. So loved.